Hey team, let's talk about this new front bumper that Chris made for me. I drew up the design and then he welded and stuff like that. And for those of you that want, the super nitty gritty details, let's jump into it. If you're new here to elevated vehicles, we talk about Jeeps, we talk about car audio, and soon we're going to be talking about electric bicycles and a bunch of other different vehicles. I'm looking at you, Chevy Colorado back here, but I want to show you guys all the details that you guys have had on the Facebook group. Let me turn on the light here. Okay, we've got the flashlight on my phone. This has been directly welded onto my frame. And you can't tell that because we did a pretty good job of cleaning things up and sanding it. And we've got that 90-degree approach angle that you guys will end up seeing later in the video. But here we've got rough country, almost flush fit front bumper lights that I've got in there. And then later in the video, I'm going to talk about the grille. Over here, we've got some more rough country, I think they're 6.5-inch lights. JW speaker Evo 3s that keep going on and off because if you guys haven't seen, I've got the Easy Guard PKE system. So now we won't keep doing that. We also have JW speaker, I don't know what they call these, but they replace the turn signals because the turn signals are located here inside of the headlight. Rugged ridge, light guards, and then a $20 or $40, I don't remember how much I paid, front grille from Facebook Marketplace. Rough country hood, I don't know what these are, I think rugged ridge also. But that's answering all the questions that you guys had on Facebook. Now let's dive deep into the video to give you guys all the details of me installing this. I had to relocate the line, and I'll talk about that later. Friendly reminder, put some blue Loctite on there. I don't think it could hurt, especially with all the vibrations going off-road. I will say, I put this black rubber cover on before I fished it up through here. So you guys can see it's fished up through here. That way it's nice and clean. You won't see it looking at the grill. That might be self-explanatory for a lot of you, but I learned my lesson the hard way. Put this cover on after you fish it through. It'll make things a lot easier. Or just, willy-nilly just have wires dangling around here. A lot of you guys don't really care about aesthetics like I do, so that's fine too. Whatever works for you. I think the hardest part of this installation, besides making this front bumper, is putting on this rubber piece. It's such a bear and a half, dude. I hate that it doesn't cover up this yellow, but I can always touch that up. Also, whenever I go off-road, it's just going to get covered up with dirt and junk anyway, so hopefully I won't see that yellow for very long. The second hardest part of this installation is obviously running these wires up here because you got to go slow and yada yada. But I want to make mention, anything that I ever install that is outside of the Jeep or in the engine bay and it's electronics, I'm going to come in here, I'm going to open this thing up, and I'm going to check the seal on it. There should be a rubber seal. If there's not, I'm going to see if I can make my own gasket. But I'll check it, and if it's good, I also want to check to make sure that these are tight. So I'll do that. The controller that goes inside the cabin, these dainty wires that come in here from the controller, that's not going to work for me. I understand why they did this. That's so you can unplug these, run them through your firewall, and they're nice and thin, and then you keep feeding all this wire through your firewall. I'm just going to cut these here and here. I don't care for these connections, so I'm going to make a much better solid connection. And because I know how I can get these done quickly, I'm not even going to have any butt connectors. I'm just going to solder them straight to the wire here, and if I ever need to, I can always cut up here. If I ever need to rearrange it or replace this or what have you. I did forget to mention that we had to relocate this power steering line. This is the non-high pressure side. It used to come down here and across down to the steering box, but we relocated it. The other thing that I had Chris do is the factory has a bar that goes from here all the way to over here. And I can assume that it's for rigidity. I mean, this is pretty thin, but nonetheless, they must have had it on there for rigidity. So since I want to be able to replace the winch, Chris cut the bar completely off, and then made a new one. And then he made some threads in here for some 18mm bolts to bring that rigidity back in. What it's actually for from the factory, if it's for rigidity, I don't actually know. That's just an assumption that I've got. Because I mean, metal costs money, right? And thousands of vehicles. So this had to have cost them money to put that bar, that factory bar right there. So yeah, let me show you guys what that looks like. Well, that's it. Blue Loctite on every bolt, including here on the fog lights. The bolts down here on the custom bumper. Blue Loctite on these guys. Just gotta let those cure. Blue Loctite on these guys. Look at everything. It's all got blue Loctite. I realize that what's popular right now in the Jeep community, I'm in November 2024, but the past couple of years, it's been popular to have this big old factory 55 or whatever hunk and deal at the front. I don't really care for that. I much prefer a cleaner appearance. So for me, I just kind of tuck my rope in. Looks like a little bit of a tongue is sticking out. And that's it. I just roll that way. I like the approach angle. Almost 90 degrees. Actually, 90 degrees. Yeah, and that's before we stretch the front axle out. So this front axle is in the factory location, but we do plan on pushing it up about 5 inches, and that's when we move to 44s, because right now we've got 40s on here. But we are, yeah, we're at a 90-degree approach angle. So that's fun. If you guys have questions, let me know. I'll show you guys what it looks like with the grill on. Unfortunately, this is not the grill that I'm going to keep on here. My plan is to have a factory grill that's not cut, and I'll show you why now. So this is not going to be the grill that I keep. The reason why is because these fog lights, or driving, I don't know what they call these big old lights here, they were in the way. So I had to cut, and the reason that they're in the way is because I didn't fully measure like I should have. What I'm going to end up doing is I'll make a bracket back here, and on that bracket, or tab, I should say, we will weld the tab onto the back so I can move this light back. And let's see, can you see here? Wow, that's not zoomed in. So between the rear of this light and the front of the radiator, I've got what I would imagine is about 3 inches. And if I measure from here to the front of this light, it's only about 1 inch, the size of my thumb. So what I'll do is I'll end up, on the new grill, I'll end up cutting all this backing up to this line right here. That way I can have a full grill. And yeah, I think that'll look a lot better than what this looks like. Also, I won't have this trimmed off, so this will all be covered up, like the factory one will. So you're not going to see bolts like this. I mean, this is all aesthetic, right? You guys realize at this point, by looking at my YouTube channel, it's not just function, it's also form for me. I kind of like form. So that's the latest update. Hopefully I'll get some tabs made after measuring and then remeasuring, and I'll have these lights pushed back. Now, team, it should go without saying that when I chopped the frame, I think 7 inches, we didn't measure, but when I chopped the frame, that could cause an issue if there was ever a frontal impact, because in the front of the frame on the Jeep JKs and JKUs, there is there are slits in the frame, and they're done like that on purpose so that the frame will be like an accordion if you ever get in a frontal impact and absorb some of that impact. Well, now that's gone because I chopped behind that. So anyone that's thinking of doing this, you need to take that into consideration because I plan on having this thing not be my daily driver in 7 to 8 months and just be something that is used for off-road. And I'll have, a cheap little $2,000 Honda Civic, and that'll use that to get around town. And I'll use this just for weekends or when we go off-road, stuff like that. So minimizing the risk of my passengers and minimizing my risk as well by not driving this as much. That's just my opinion, of course, right? Free world, do what you want to do, but something that you should be aware of. When I did a frame chop, it cut the impact absorption part of the frame. So there's that. Now I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a quick montage of where we started and where we ended up. Enjoy.